Alright, today I want to go through a few things, pickups and stuff, and my package from the U.S. Post Office arrived today, so that's good. I got that out of the way. Like I said, when you don't have an answering machine, I know people say, answering machine, those are from like the 90s, but I get it, you know. But that's what I had to have. I wanted a certain model. I only wanted to pay a certain amount, and because I saved $10, you know, maybe that you never know. Maybe if I had paid the extra $10, it might not be here yet. You know, the post office misdelivered it to another city, so that took another 3 or 4 days for it to get here because of that. And the guy, shipped it not on a Friday, because I ordered on Thursday. He shipped it on a Monday, so that was another, 2 or 3 days. So 5 days extra that didn't need to be gone, essentially. So anyway, so there is that. Now I picked this up here, and I need some feedback on this because this guy signed for somebody, whether he was just lucky or he signs for other people. And also, this is the only item I could get because trading cards of this guy are like $50, signed or unsigned otherwise. So they're just really hard to get. And I don't know if these are made first from the post office, cancel on them, or the design is put on afterwards. This is on April 29th, 2023. This is Astronomy Today, celebrated on or near the first quarter moon. And astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson is on here, as in a plastic envelope here. This is put out by Coverscape. And I was wondering, do you think he would be able to sign the front of that? Or he would just sign the back of it? That would be dreadful if he signed the back of it. But I was hoping he would sign the picture because it would look really cool with his autograph on there. So I think he signs in Sharpie, and that would look really, really great. I wouldn't care if this was a whopping something like $4. And that might have even included the shipping. So I had to get that one. You can see the color changes when I slip it out of the holder there. You know, the light at this time of day is just super terrible. I don't see it on the actual item, but looking through the camera, there's a huge shine. But again, the seller actually had more of these, so if you want to get one of these, and then there's some little bio about him or something. There's a quote, I guess, on the back there. So they printed this twice, ran it through a printer, I guess, and then printed it again. Again, their cancel is a little bit off there, so I'm wondering if they had printed it first, or printed it second and then had it cancel. I don't really know. Anyway, we shall see about that one. But just the only item of deGrasse Tyson I can afford, but he could maybe sign it right across there, and that would just look really, really cool. So let me know on that one there. Then I was participating in a live stream just in the chat last night, talking to Random Reads. And Random Reads is Kevin, who used to be Random Rips. And I think WVOG's 18 because he's, comedy gold, or VOGs equals ratings. But there were only 2 people in the chat, but VOGs was asleep, so the ratings, were not there. And then Paul in the 619 maybe. I don't remember who else was in there. Comic book heroes for, anyway, there's a bunch of people that was in there, so I basically they were talking about Disney comics, which piqued my interest, and I missed most of it, so I may have to go back and look. But I had mentioned that I have access to Disney comics for $1 a piece, so I wanted to share those today, and I think these are the only ones I got. There was a Batman one I got as well, but it turns out it's not worth anything. So I looked on the dreaded eBay. A lot of people do a buy it now for comics at $5 a piece, knowing that that's probably $3 or $4 too much, with shipping. And sometimes they will eventually sell. And these are all from somewhere between 75 and 77. This is Walt Disney, Mickey Mouse, and Goofy. I don't remember which number it is. It's a 25-cent issue, so that's probably closer to 75. I should have brought my magnifying glass here to see. And I looked at it earlier, so I should know. I think it says 75 or 76. It's very hard to tell there. And then copyright a different copyright of Disney. And it's in relatively okay condition for a red copy there, but a lot of these were bent over like this because people have been throwing them in the bin. They've been in a box like this, and they've been curling up and stuff like that. So it was good to kind of save those. That got the toy soldier ad on the back there. The first one I saw was this one here, which is Uncle Scrooge. I don't know if I'll be able to get the grocery sticker off of there, but we have Uncle Scrooge The Swamp of No Return. And again, a lot of these, the starting bids was $1, and then it's really hard to know where they're going. And then a lot of them were not $5; they were, $10 or more plus shipping. So a lot of these comic books were acting like $15. Now, a lot of comic book shops have done away with their dollar section. One of them does have dollar comic books, but you have to dig through, and they're just Alpha Flight, the Canadian superhero all-stars or whatever. There is Uncle Scrooge in the Swamp of No Return, another 25-cent issue. But see, the grocery wanted 24 cents, a penny less. So I don't know how if I'd be able to get that off. Some of those were actually falling off at the store. And this one here is, it looks like 1975 on this one. It's very hard to read, but this is 1975. So these comics are already 50 years old. Isn't that crazy? And then we have a 30-cent issue, Keep Off the Grass. I didn't know if I already had this one or not. I don't know which Scrooge comic books I have. I've kind of blocked the area where I can get to the comic books. I know I have a lot of boards, and I might still have some bags. I need to bag and board a lot of, kind of iffy comic books. I also previously got a couple of Fat Albert ones. I might have those here to show. I can actually show you those now. So we got, mid-70s Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids there. More or less canceled, but I still like the cartoon regardless. So there is that. And we have those. Again, those were $1 a piece. Never mind the price tag on them. Then we have Walt Disney's Comics and Stories. And again, I could not remember. I think Uncle Scrooge is a little more sought after than just some of these basic stories here. But again, a 25-cent issue there. Then we have Daisy and Donald. The prices, again, for this one were all over the place. I left a couple of them because one of them, the cover inside here bled through the top. And then the other one, the cover was almost torn off there. Those might have been the best too, but there's a ton of love there. Daisy and Donald. Then we'll skip over to this one here. I got a Batman one. And again, where do you ever find Batman from 1987 for $1? It's not mint by any means. But again, a lot of the near mint prices on this were not even $5, $2 for this. So it's unfortunate that something like this was kind of a cool cover there, or an interesting cover at least. Starlin, Aparo, and DiCarlo, I remember those names from way back then, 87. And I figured I might as well save it before it gets destroyed. Again, people kind of can get a sense of what these things are worth, and it's got the old TSR ad on the back there. I think this is around the time when Batman started to get a little on the too evil side for youth to really should be reading this sort of thing. Some of those are just really, really creepy in the 90s or so. Then we have Walt Disney's Comics and Stories with Donald with the squirt gun. I don't know if that's paint or ink in there. I really don't know. And then there is Uncle Scrooge in the background with some of his relatives. Most of these have the prices in cash in the back there. That's always enticing to see what you could have gotten. And then we have two more Walt Disney ones. Oh, actually, there was a Pluto comic, but I left that as well too. I didn't really care for that one there. It was pretty beat. Daisy and Donald win a panda, and Donald is so sick of winning pandas. And I don't know if those were live pandas or just toy pandas or Andy Panda or I don't know what the heck there. I haven't looked at these. I just got these today. And then Walt Disney's Comics and Stories, where Donald is taking a picture of the nephew stealing from the cookie jar. So what are the cookies for anyway if the kids can't eat them? Are those Donald's cookies? I really don't know. And again, this one is a weird one here. This is some sort of Kenner Barbie type thing called Dusty Bubble and Bath and Shower. Very strange. Very strange toy. The 70s had lots of very unusual toys there. So don't know what that is at all. Don't even care. But it was just on the back of this Walt Disney comic there. And then I just found out that one of the local thrift stores is closing because they're moving that location to another part of the Southern Oregon, or I guess it's Southern Oregon. Anyway, there's a greater need, I guess, in that particular area for people coming in from California or what have you. And so I picked up this display in the back. It's been at the store for a long time, and I have not been able to figure out what it was, but it was 25% off. And it was never been for sale, but it was only $3. They said, "Would you like to round up, sir?" I said, "Well, just round up to the nearest penny." So it was $3. It would have been $2.99. It was just crazy. It was nothing. It was something like $3 or something. So I'll give you a better look at it. And I picked it up because it's fairly tall, but it looks like it would be good for golf clubs, so I have a few golf clubs. Somebody had, that exact same day, had noted that I had some antique and cool looking golf clubs in my collection there. And I said, oh, I just moved them to point A to point B. They were just in my garage at the time. So I thought, hey, this would be great for golf clubs. I wished it was great for baseball bats, but the baseball bats don't fit by just that much. And then some of the bats fit in the holes in the edge here, but they don't go all the way down, so I don't want to damage the baseball bats. But golf clubs and a couple of hockey sticks fit in there perfectly. Now, what I'm trying to figure out, and my other question to you, aside from the first one of the Neil deGrasse Tyson, I'll do a picture at the end of the video. This one says Coopers, established in 1850, handmade in England, the art of a tradition. I don't know what that is. I'm guessing for umbrellas. That's my guess, because I was thinking this be an umbrella stand at like a store, like a department store or some sort of sporting goods store, you know, that had maybe golf umbrellas or something like that. But I've looked up every little iteration of that Cooper's there and found absolutely nothing. Absolutely earthly nothing that had anything to do with anything. Very frustrating there to figure out what that is. So I have a better picture of Cooper's. If you have any idea what that was, but I'm guessing that would have been for umbrellas. You know, England being kind of the rainy place that it is, or was. Maybe that's what that was. And again, there was Anderson Sporting Goods that wasn't too far away, but again, what was this for, and why somebody buy this from another store? You know, this kind of screams like 80s or 90s type of thing, you know, and the store sold it to me for not even $4, like $3. And I had kind of eyeballed that for a long time. I said, you know, that's quite useful. They never put anything in it. Almost nothing was in it. Every once in a while they used to put golf clubs in there or something else, umbrellas or whatever, for their store, but it was just grossly unused for many years. I was like, man, you know what? That's going to get broken and I'm going to want it and they're not going to sell it to me. And they sold it to me for nothing. You know, if I found that at the Goodwill store, I would have had to pay by the pound for that, and that would have been like 20 or 30 bucks. You know, because if it's 5 pounds times $2.79, you know, well, that's 15, but, you know, I don't know, you know, I mean, it just, whatever. I don't know how big it was, or it could have been, I don't know how, it was not that heavy, but it, you know, and it's a weird shape, so it just barely fit in my trunk. I have a small trunk. I just thought it was really cool, and again, I don't know what that is. I just have to do, you know, a little sanitizing wipes on it and clean that up and put that somewhere, and hopefully I can have all my, you know, I was hoping it worked for baseball bats, but it doesn't seem to want to do that, so that would be really what I would have liked to have had it used for. But if anybody knows what that is, put down in the comments below. And then, you know, again, everybody is having kind of a time this week for different reasons. But that, you know, is not the only reason, because I noticed a lot of people are leaving YouTube and a lot of people are having issues. And September is always a difficult time for other reasons, and also it's back to school for people. They don't have time to make videos, you know, and sometimes back to work for people if they're you know, teachers or what have you. And so a lot of the videos have disappeared. Also, sometimes the deals that people are used to be, you know, because if you have more time on your hand, the deals would find themselves. You could find the deals. And then again with the COMC changing the shipping, I haven't seen any COMC videos at all except for just a couple. And you know, I had shipping issues myself for things that were not arriving on time. I do have 2 cards on the way and a photograph that somebody said, would you like this deal on it? And I might do it. It's still way too much, but I want to keep the ball rolling and keep things going there. So, you know, and then everything else that I've looked at on the internet is not moving. It's not going anywhere. And I think that's what basically is happening right now. Things are not moving. And so, you know, the chance for you to get something is next week and the week before. And there's still cards on COMC and eBay that have been there for 5+ years that nobody has purchased. Why would I need to buy that right now if it's just going to sit there, you know, to rot and rust? And I see no sales on these things. Nobody's, you know, I have not looked at that and gotten any kind of, would you like it for this price or would you like it for that price? You know, there's nobody said that, you know, I might be able to say, hey, can you do it for this? And whatever. And then I did find one more comic book, which I had a little bit ago. I think I also got it with the Fat Alberts. Again, I was just focused on the Disney one so I could be done with that in case I wanted to get any more of them. And then this is all new Speed Buggy from Hanna-Barbera. I don't know if I showed that one there. And there is Fake Shaggy right there. That guy, I call him Fake Shaggy. You know, again, the voices were all reused, and all the animation was reused, and again, Shaggy, the guy that is fake Shaggy, is just so ridiculous. Speed Buggy was essentially a product of the 70s, 60s, and 70s, and then that's where it failed. You know, it was just for the time, and it's not cool anymore, and nobody knows about it. So that's pretty much all I have here. There's nothing wrong. It's just that I'm seeing, you know, people finding other, places to do things than YouTube right now. So that's all I have. And then the last two videos I posted, previously I got crazy amounts of videos and they got promoted or whatever. So one of my videos got like 100 and some views in one day, but the last two videos, one was 25 and the other one was 5. They will pick up because one of the videos that I have posted is not on anywhere on YouTube. There's a public television logo that I have not found in any of the compilations, not one, or even the standalones. And so I'm very happy to have posted that, and once the word gets out, that should get, but again, it's only gotten 5 views, which is kind of weird. I guess I could have done it as a YouTube short, but that would have changed never mind. You know, the YouTube shorts only work for a short time, haha, no pun intended. Thank you for watching.